Background is about a man in Sonoma County who becomes a revolutionary leader. His name is Sam, and when he arrives in Guerneville, he's running from Homeland Security. He meets an energy healer named Tara, and she begins to teach him. In the scene that I'm going to read to you, Tara takes Sam to a remote part of Mendocino County. They go through the Headwaters Forest Reserve, cut a lock on a gate, and drive into the vast clear cut all around the reserve. One of the last old-growth redwood forests used to stand here. During the Redwood Summer protests in 1990, Tara, along with activists from all over the world, desperately tried to protect it. But Wall Street and a group of senators wanted to let Charles Keating of Lincoln Savings, who owned it through another company, destroy it so he could pay off junk bonds. For the most part, they won. On this day, Tara and Sam are on a fire road, standing by her VW van, overlooking square miles of stumps. Tara believes that Sam has much to learn from this history. She begins. The government put this ancient, beautiful, irreplaceable forest under military occupation so Charles Keating could cut it down. They beat protesters with clubs and dragged them away from the trees, screaming. I was one of them. They arrested hundreds, and I was one of them too. Sam shook his head. Unbelievable, he said. And you know what, Sam? It didn't make any difference. His bank failed anyway. All those people who bought Keating's junk bonds were wiped out. Destroying this place served no purpose whatsoever. Sam lowered the binoculars and looked at the ground closer by. Not far away sagged a 30-foot stump, gray and dead. Come with me, he asked. Tara took his hand, and they stood together on the stump. Sam was sure he could feel the earth moaning in pain and disbelief. Sam, Tara said, tears flowing, I wanted you to see this for a reason. She swept her arm across the dead remains of an ancient forest that should have been cherished by all of humanity. This is what happens when Wall Street and the federal government win, she said, her eyes welling up with rage and her voice trembling. This is what they think of us. This is what they will do to us again. Tara held her face in her hands and composed herself as best she could. Remember how I asked you to think about the scope of your actions? Sam nodded. Well, I think this is the scope of your actions. I think you are meant to play at this level, on this scale. There's more to the story. There is a silver lining. There were politicians who heard us, but not at the federal level. At the state level, we had some allies in public office. And before Keating could destroy the entire old-growth forest, the state made him stop. They let us use the Endangered Species Act to force the federal government to back off. And after 9 years of arduous work, resisted at every turn by Wall Street just to prove a point, we finally won a partial victory. Headwaters Forest Reserve was created, preserving one grove of old growth and a large area of second growth. If Wall Street had its way, Keating would have cut down every last tree, but we managed to save a handful. I think that's you. I think you can save part of our country the way we saved part of this forest. Sam nodded. In the core of his gut, he knew she was right. They walked back to the van in silence, and Tara drove them down the dirt roads to the highway. She stopped at the pavement. Can you drive the rest of the way? She asked. Seeing what they did and the memories, it drained me more than I expected. They switched places. Before long, Tara fell asleep. Sam drove down Highway 101 in the gathering twilight. Even if what Tara said about his role in society was true, It was also true that he was a fugitive. How could a fugitive become a leader? How could he be heard when he had to hide? He drove on. The resistance, he said aloud. Tara stirred a little but didn't wake. A crescent moon began to rise over the hills, and Sam watched. Her fluid light streamed across the golden grass and filled the branches of ancient valley oaks as they gestured to the stars like actors posing on an eternal stage. He observed the quietude in his own mind. The usual cast of characters spinning stories wasn't there. It was just him, and the moon, and the highway, and the resistance. Sam thought, this is the unity of consciousness she told me about. He drove on in silence, studying it, memorizing it. Unexpectedly, the moonlight flowed into his mind and illuminated his solution. He knew exactly what to do. A profound smile spread across his face. He could feel it in his soul. Something changed at the center of his life. He found his original self, and nothing would ever be the same again.